You ever have an idea in your mind of what you want something to taste like, and then it comes out exactly how you were hoping? That's this. We're just using 6 things to make this. We have some ground turkey, some ground beef, a jar of tomato sauce, Italian seasoning, a spaghetti squash, and some sliced provolone. This ground turkey was an amazing price at my store. I could not pass it up. Yes, it's seasoned. This is taco seasoned. I promise you it will not be a problem. Into my mixing bowl. This is ground beef. This is the budget-friendly ground beef. It's 73% lean, and into the mixing bowl. To our meat, I'm gonna add 1 tablespoon of Italian seasoning. Our taco meat already had some onion and garlic powder and some other seasonings. So this already has some flavor. And like I said, it is taco seasoned, but I promise that's not gonna be a problem. I don't love the texture of touching raw meat and mixing it all up with my hands. I'm using a mixer. You certainly can just mix it up with your hands. If you have a mixer, this is a good hack. If you're like me and don't like that texture. It doesn't take long. You don't want to overmix, so don't overmix. I didn't add any egg or breadcrumb or anything like that. You certainly can. A lot of budget-friendly meals are a little high carb, which makes sense. Carbs are filling, they're palatable, they're budget-friendly, but I just can't eat that way. And so I wanted to offer some ideas for ways that you can make budget-friendly foods that are not high carb for anyone that wants or needs to eat low carb. Now that everything's mixed up, I'm gonna go ahead and form my meatballs. I don't really mind touching the raw meat. It's mixing it up that bothers me. I don't like when it gets under my fingernails. That texture drives me crazy. Okay, so I'm just gonna form my meatballs and I'm just gonna put them right down on my cookie sheet. This is pretty high fat content meat, so I don't really need to use parchment paper or oil my pan or anything like that. They're not gonna stick. So I'm just gonna form the meatballs, put them down on my cookie sheet. When this cooks, it's gonna cook out a lot of that fat, but don't throw it away because we're gonna use it later on when we make our spaghetti squash. Now, obviously you can do your marinara and meatballs over spaghetti, very traditional spaghetti and meatballs, or you can do them as a hoagie sandwich. But again, I'm trying to offer some lower carb options. So I'm gonna do this with spaghetti squash. If you've never worked with a spaghetti squash, there's a really easy way to open these that will keep your fingers safe. First, you need a knife. Yeah, hold it like a butcher. You need a sharp, pointed tipped knife, a nice big, sharp, pointed tip knife. Push it lightly down into this spaghetti squash and then push down. Keep your fingers up above the knife the whole time. Push down, and it's going to cut that first half pretty easily. Then you're gonna get on the other side of that hole that you just made, push down, and then get that other half cut. It does take a little bit of elbow grease, but it's really not hard. All this stuff inside, just like when you're making your jack-o'-lanterns, you're gonna scoop all of these seeds and soft bits, soft stringy bits inside out into a bowl. Now, if you don't wanna work with this spaghetti squash, you don't have the tools or you don't have the strength, what you can do is use butternut squash instead. You can buy butternut squash in the frozen section. Just take it out, cook it according to package instructions, and then you can put your meatballs over your butternut squash. It's gonna be gluten-free. It's gonna be slightly more low carb than spaghetti. But again, you could just do spaghetti and you can just do bread like hoagie rolls, like meatball sub sandwiches, if that's your preference. This is slightly lower carb and it's gluten-friendly for anyone who needs to eat gluten-free. And once you get all those seeds scooped out, it's going to look like this. Cook these at 350 for about 20 minutes. It doesn't really matter at this stage if they're fully cooked. They probably are after 20 minutes. But even if they're not, even if there's a little pink left inside, it doesn't matter because we're gonna cook them longer in our sauce. The benefit of doing this is that it renders out a lot of that fat. This is very high fat content meat because that's the most budget friendly. So this renders some of that out so that your finished product doesn't feel greasy. It's not gonna be greasy because we've rendered out some of that fat. Now we're gonna use some of that. I'm gonna take my little brush, I'm gonna grab up some of that fat that was rendered out and I'm gonna brush that right onto my spaghetti squash here. So we're adding flavor by doing this and we're adding a little bit of moisture that's gonna help these spaghetti squash to cook up and to be really flavorful when they're done. I'm gonna brush that right on there and right inside of the well where I removed all of those seeds and the little stringy bits. I put these in the oven. It's already preheated to 350 from cooking the meatballs. And I'm gonna cook these for about 20 minutes. How long it takes to cook a spaghetti squash really depends on the size. This is a 2-pound spaghetti squash. They come much larger than this. So it really just depends on the size and the ripeness of your spaghetti squash. I'm gonna start out with 20 minutes and we'll see how it goes. While our spaghetti squash is cooking, we're gonna get our sauce going. Go ahead and pour that right into my pot. I put a little bit of water in the bottom and we're just gonna shake that up to make sure that we have no sauce left behind. Put that right in. I've got my sauce heated up and now I'm gonna transfer my meatballs into the heated up sauce. You don't wanna put hot meatballs into cold sauce. It's just basic food safety. Wait until your sauce is heated up, then go ahead and transfer your meatballs in there. Give everything a good stir to make sure that all of your meatballs are covered in sauce. We're just gonna cover with a lid and I'm gonna leave this here. This is on keep warm, so it's 140 degrees. I'm just gonna let this go ahead and simmer while my spaghetti squash is finishing cooking. I checked this at 20 minutes and it's getting there, but it's still too hard. So this is gonna go back into the oven a little bit longer. So now this has been in for about 30 minutes and the fork is just sliding in easily. You can see it's nice and soft now. The fork has no problem piercing. So these are done. Once these are cooked, you can literally just shred it up like spaghetti. It literally comes out like spaghetti noodles. I'm gonna go ahead and put a little bit of this in my bowl. Spaghetti squash is not going to taste like spaghetti. If you're expecting this to taste like spaghetti, you're gonna be disappointed. It doesn't taste like spaghetti, it tastes like squash. But a lot like other types of squashes, it takes on the flavors of whatever you put on it. So I'm gonna go ahead and add some of my meatballs here, sauce. Top this with my provolone. There are 12 slices in here and we're getting 6 servings out of this. So 2 slices per serving. And then I'm just gonna put this in my oven to get everything melty. Look at that. If you have a broiler, you can pop this under your broiler for a little extra browning. If not, just pop it right into your oven until everything gets bubbly and brown. You ever have an idea in your mind of what you want something to taste like, and then it comes out exactly how you were hoping? That's this. This is delicious. It is hearty, it is filling. There isn't anything about this budget meal that was a compromise. This is a win.